50-plus years ago, I fell in love with the monarch butterfly. Like any carefree kid, I assumed they would be around forever. It never dawned on me the day might come when monarchs didn't visit us each summer. But here we are, today. The western monarch population is collapsing. The larger eastern population is on a downward trend. Growing up as a kid in small-town Utah, life in the 60s was an outdoor adventure. It was all open space and agricultural land. We had all sorts of creatures to entertain us, and the monarch captured my heart. Generations of children before us have witnessed the magic of rearing a monarch caterpillar in a jar. Watching it transform from chrysalis to butterfly is an experience you don't forget. Countless numbers get released into the wild blue yonder, leaving imprints on our hearts. Fast forward to a decade ago and living in Salt Lake City, I wondered where the monarchs went, so I looked into it. The female monarch will only lay her eggs on milkweed because that's the only plant the caterpillars can eat. So I decided to grow milkweed and see if I could attract them to my yard. I found native seeds online and off I went. It took a couple of years of trial and error with these finicky seeds, but I finally converted my side yard into a monarch waste station. That's a program designed by an organization in Kansas called Monarch Watch. The idea is to get healthy breeding habitat back into cities across America. It requires 10 stems of milkweed, pollinator flowers for the butterfly, some kind of water source, and the protection of nearby trees and shrubs. Participants can register and name their habitat, and this one is called Rachel's Home for Wayward Monarchs. Just 6 weeks after planting, I found the first of 70 eggs I would find in my yard that summer. Not only was it successful, it was attractive. I found myself showing it to anyone who would look, literally pulling neighbors off the street. Interest began to grow, as did my efforts. I collected a few eggs to rear some monarchs on my back patio, safe in mesh containers, safe from predators like beetles and other insects. Monarch caterpillars require fresh milkweed daily. In fact, a monarch caterpillar will grow 2,000% in 2 weeks on a milkweed diet. I needed much more than I had grown and had to keep chasing down more. I felt like I was feeding teenage boys during football season. Around this same time, I signed up for a citizen science project where we learned to tag monarchs for a migration study. Yes, I did say tag monarch. I tagged about 50 that first season, some with the help of the neighborhood kids. One Saturday morning in September, we invited the whole neighborhood over for my first ever presentation on the monarch. The event ended when each one of the kids got to release a tagged butterfly. I'm not sure who had more fun that day, me or the kids, but this is when my husband coined the phrase, "She's 60, going on 6, and I'll leave it at that. I didn't know if I'd made an impact on these young 5 to 7-year-olds for a couple of weeks, but I came home from work one day, and there was a handwritten note taped to my front door. "Dear Mrs. T, the Nelsons and I have found a monarch butterfly, and he has not been tagged. We're keeping him safe in a bin for you. Please come to my house. If I don't answer, go to the Nelsons. Sincerely, Harris M." I continue to raise a couple of monarchs each year, safe in protective custody, from egg to caterpillar, chrysalis to adult, sharing that miracle of metamorphosis anywhere I can. These brief encounters have made lifelong converts to conservation. So what started as a project in my dining room turned greenhouse far exceeded my capacity. I reached out to Professor Nalini Nadkarni at the University of Utah, known for her work in taking nature to the incarcerated, among many other things. She connected with the Department of Corrections, and as it turns out, there was a youth correctional facility in Salt Lake City that had a greenhouse not being utilized. Together, we created a plan. We would ask these incarcerated boys, aged 13 to 21, to help the monarchs by growing milkweed for me to give away. In return, I created some one-hour classes on monarchs, milkweed, and migration that fit into their ongoing education program. This project has been hugely productive. At the end of the first season, I picked up more than 2,000 milkweed seedlings to share around the area. Some of these seedlings were used to enhance a monarch way station I planted at a city park right next to my office. The Salt Lake City Public Lands team was so interested in this monarch project, they converted even more grassy area into native pollinator habitat. By the second season, this area just buzzed with life and popped with color. The planting was so authentic. We attracted our first resident male monarch who stayed for about 4 weeks. While in the garden one day looking for him, I saw something flutter by above me and looked up just in time to see 2 mating monarchs in flight, and they landed on a nearby tree. Yes, we were successful. And now the Public Lands team is duplicating this effort in other areas of the city. As my knowledge of the monarch has increased, so has my sense of wonder. I marvel at the hurdles they face just to survive. The monarchs are known for their amazing migration, but to truly appreciate this, you have to learn a bit more. The monarchs who reach the adult stage at the end of summer can sense that it's time to head south for the winter. They hit the pause button on breeding, saving that energy for the long journey ahead. They must fuel up on nectar from pollinator plants along the way, saving enough to survive the winter, living off their own body fat. How much body fat could a monarch have? These beautiful creatures, they weigh less than a paperclip, yet they fly more than 3,500 miles to reach these winter sites. Picture a monarch in Canada setting off on a journey to Mexico City or beyond. It's amazing. And here's the really crazy part. These monarchs have never been to these overwintering sites. They were just born. Yet somehow, from wherever they are, across North America, they navigate to the very same groups of trees used by monarchs for decades before them, without parents to guide them, or maps, or GPS. Pretty crazy. Once there, they clump together in trees to stay warm until spring, when they can head back to the US or inward from the western coast, find milkweed to lay eggs on, and that winds down their extra long lifespan. And then the first generation of the year is born. In 2020, the western monarch population hit an all-time low, a decline of 99.9% since the 1980s. The entire species is in trouble. So what's causing this decline? There are 3 primary factors. First, the loss of breeding habit continues as we continue to develop our open space. Concrete and housing developments have replaced open fields and agricultural land where milkweed once grew. Second, herbicides and pesticides became readily available in the 1980s, coinciding with the decline of the monarch. Weed killers now fill rows of shelves at our garden centers, and these end up in the soil. There was a study done by the Xerces Society recently. They tested milkweed and other plants from the Central Valley of California. These plants turned out to have up to 69 chemicals in them. 69 chemicals. And third, our warming climate is already having an impact on the monarch. Another recent study has shown that the average date of fall migration is now 3 weeks later than what it was just 3 decades ago. This shortens the time span that they travel in ideal conditions, reducing the numbers that make it to those overwintering sites. There are similar issues in the spring when, prompted by warmer weather, monarchs move inward too quickly before milkweed is sprouted and they have nowhere to lay their eggs. In December of 2020, the monarch became a candidate for the endangered species list, but it's precluded. It's waiting their turn for resources behind more than 150 other species. In the meantime, it's up to you and me to do our part. Maybe you could add a monarch way station in your yard. Monarch Watch can help. Native seeds are readily available. Or maybe you can't add a monarch way station, but you reduce the amount of chemicals that you use in your garden. Or just maybe you catch your neighbor before they mow down that milkweed along the back fence. There might be a monarch caterpillar on it. The future is uncertain for the monarch. As our human population continues to grow, open space will continue to disappear, along with other flora and fauna. Are we too late for the monarch? Not on my watch. Just one action might help send a monarch from your backyard to Mexico and a little girl from small-town Utah on the adventure of a lifetime. Join me, please.